beginning of the song, there's about 5 chords that happen, and it's an F sharp minor 9 over C sharp, a C sharp minor 7 over B, back to an F sharp minor 9 over C sharp, then C sharp minor 7 over E, and then it resolves with an E minor 7 flat 5. And it's pretty much staying within this C sharp minor tonality. The riff, which was the basic concept of that started off the song, which is. I'm basically just switching to E, C sharp, and then D sharp, C. So it's pretty much hinting at this Hungarian minor thing, which becomes very apparent during when the guitar kicks in at around 30 seconds. The song is pretty much the same riff throughout the entire song. So it's just, we first play it in a punky style. And then later, around I don't know, the 15/4 groove, then it switches into a more like a funky sort of groovy section, as opposed to just doing
funk shuffle.
Funk shuffle. And then the trombone starts playing the exact same riff, this one, except he switches it to kind of a funk groove. But the trombone pretty much just plays that line, at least just a part of it, the whole 15/4 up until the guitar solo section. And then the horns, the other horns come in, like the trumpet, tenor sax, and alto sax. They come in a little bit later as the trombone establishes the line. And the bass line is just sort of responding to the trombone line. And Eric sang, like if we start at the very beginning, Eric sang chords in C sharp minor, just a stack, the first 4 or 5 chords that I talked about. And then he switches to sort of like a Hungarian minor thing for the rest of it, and in a 3-part harmony, which we really love to do. A lot of the time we like doing.
So we'll just go through the score a little bit. In the beginning, measure 12, there's like a 10/8 to a 6/8 to 2 bars of 7/8 to a 2/4, and we could have written that in a 10/8 or a 10/4 with a 2/4 bar tag at the end or something like that. Because the actual riff isn't, the 2/4 is just the sort of the, I don't know, intermediate transition part. But then the phrasing wouldn't be emphasized in the proper way, since it's basically a few riffs put together.
Yeah, we're really focused on just phrasing in general.
So like the phrasing, we'll write it, we'll score it out so that the phrasing happens in the 1, as opposed to having all these, we repeat it, and the phrase changes to the basic 7/8, which, again, if we wrote it for like a different way, it would be more difficult to explain than just saying like, okay, just play that bar 7/8 again with the 2/4 tag at the end. And it's all, we also have to think about how easy it is to explain the riffs to the musicians. The music, at some point is just listening to the original riff that is represented either on the bass or guitar, or usually in some rhythm instrument, because then you can understand where the notes lay, instead of trying to just count every measure, and you just know that the riff's going to end soon, so time to start over or whatever.
It's sort of like this classic jazz thing. It's like, just feel it, man.
Just feel it,
And we kind of expect that at a certain extent, which I think is really hard for people to just walk into, especially musicians we bring in or audition to play with us. It's pretty difficult to walk in there and just feel these really odd phrases and stuff, but that's just how we how we think of them. So
Right.
I mean, we just kind of have to get people on board because eventually, once people have played it enough, that's the thing. Once people have played it enough, it's not actually complicated. It's just more about the feel. So like once you kind of get into our brains and sort of can feel the tone or the pulse.
Next in the score, we have this sort of 4/4 interlude, and then it's the main sort of 15/4 section, which finishes off the piece. It's got a build, and then there's a solo, guitar solo, and this, still like a duple feel. It's got a shuffle thing that I'm kind of hinting at. I'm not doing the shuffle, which is why a lot of the other instrumentation isn't necessarily doing it in a swing beat or it's pretty straight. But I have this kind of groovy, I guess, funky shuffle thing going on.
So writing the solo for Alex's End, the biggest challenge I had to overcome was actually the time signature, because in 15/4 it feels like 3 even beats, 3 even measures, and then a measure that's just missing a beat, and this is kind of weird. Wow. This is kind of very stumbling, because if you miss this beat, you'll just not be on time, and all of your phrases kind of don't go where they should go. So that's what you had to get used to, but as we've been playing it before, I kind of knew the tune pretty well when we actually recorded it. So what I usually try to do when I'm writing a solo is just jam to the track and come up with one good idea, then work from this good idea, and I usually do the beginning first. So my first beginning phrase is just a very simple one, a slide going through different octaves. Going into melodic minor, C-sharp melodic minor thing, where it's actually accenting the major 7, but then afterward actually it goes. So here I'm using the minor 7 as a melody note. That's going into a half tone whole tone pattern. And then here what I'm actually doing is I'm using both the minor 7 and the major 7 again, but I'm using the minor 7 with the root note as a chromatic enclosure for the major 7. Of course, right, when you're writing a rock guitar solo, it always feels like you should have some shred in the middle, but then at the ending just play long notes and a big band going. And that's the part of the solo where all of the horns are restarting again and there's vocals again. So after that, it's just some more background type ambient soloing. And this is just another thing that I'm doing a lot in this solo towards the end, is to actually use the very sharp dissonance of having a minor second interval going on in the high strings. Because especially with distorted guitars, that's just creating a nice sound.
So yeah, just to reference the construction of the album, and how we approached recording it, we kind of rolled around a bunch of different ways of going about it, and it was actually pretty daunting to figure out, because it's quite a large score, which will show parts of it, and it's just difficult to know the best way to approach it. In a lot of our past recordings, we would basically just do it live, like in Künstlerscheiße or Cat Attack. We pretty much recorded those bass and drums together live. Actually, Künstlerscheiße was just a live thing between me, Nick, and Ben Reese.
Overdubs.
With overdubs.
Over everything.
Yeah, and that was just recorded on tour in a live situation. And in this case, like this track, we pretty much just wanted it to be super tight, and that was like the resolution that we came to. We wanted it to be very tight, and we wanted all the parts that we wrote to come across in the best way.
There's a lot of different sections. There's a lot of improv and sort of solo sections that we could, leave up everything up to chance and just record everybody in the same room. But we wanted to have a little bit more control over the production of the album in the end.
Yeah.
And so we kind of it enabled us to change some of the. When we started recording, we had to change. Well, we didn't have to, but we did change some of the composition and some of the way it was written to accommodate that approach of making everything super tight.
Right.
So it kind of enabled us to, take more time with solos and take more time with the improv parts and, allow for even more heavy composition, since
Right.
that's what we were focused on.
Yeah, we basically, I mean, because we had a past member leave, we basically rewrote the entire album. So all the guitar parts and everything. Originally, it was constructed a totally different way, and then we basically rewrote everything, changed the key in a lot of the tracks, and especially in this one, we changed the arrangement entirely to accommodate a very different tonal idea, and I think that was incredibly difficult to have to reapproach something that you kind of written one way and you get used to that and you play it for years and then you switch to a totally different way. But that's life. If you have any questions about what we're talking about, or if you want to comment on anything, or we'll answer them in corresponding videos, because this is going to be like a series. So we're just going to go from 1, which is today, 1 to 16, because there's 16 tracks on the album. Some are very short, so we won't have a lot to talk about. Other ones are long, so it'll just depend on whatever, and we'll have some guests.
Yeah, great. Thanks for watching this video.
Yeah.
And we'll have some more. We'll have a video for each track. So enjoy.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.